Hey, my friends. Here we are on Saturday afternoon, July the 20th, 2019. I'm going to start tagging a few people. I didn't really give you all a time, so I'm not sure who's going to be available. But I know how you guys are. You will happily share this and circulate this, and within 24 hours, we should have about 1,000 people taking a look. It's been a pretty rough, tumble, exciting week, and a lot of things have happened in the world of child welfare, and it just gets crazier and crazier. You know, we have to stand up. We got to be brave. We've got to protect the rights of other people. I am doing this on a sideways camera here, and I don't really know if this works. So if somebody will tell me if it looks okay or if I need to turn my phone back around. I think they've got the program set up now with Facebook that you can do it this way. So we're going to give it a try. Okay, we got a few people tagged in here. If y'all would kind of tag, share it to a couple other groups, that would be great. So, as you all know, I'm sure everybody knows by now because it's been on 2 TV stations and been several other places. Oops. Just lost you. Lost my people. Golly, guys, be patient here. There we go. All right, can we see okay? Oh, and I do not have good internet connection, so I'm probably going to have to move. It just gave me a notification here. So I may move around here in a minute, but it looked like my internet was pretty good. I am outside in the woods, basically, and you can see. I'm going to show you right here. Just a second, see if it'll let me turn it around. Maybe not. Camera. Oh, my finger's on it. That's why. Look here. See here? I am deep in the woods. So there's a reason for that. I needed a little opportunity to chill out a little and relax and spend some time with family. Now, what you know, I went to jail this week. Oh my gosh, isn't this interesting? So after all these years, oh my gosh, and if you didn't hear that, that was thunder. I'm going to try to move up a little bit closer to the internet connection. Let's see if that helps a little. All right. So in all my years on this planet, can't say I've never been to jail because I had to deal with a judge who decided he was going to put me in jail a few years ago. But I've never been charged with a criminal offense. Get our light fixed here. So here I am. Now I've been charged with facilitation of a felony. So under the criminal responsibility statutes, it says that if you substantially assist someone in the commission of a felony, that you can be charged with commission of a felony. Facilitation of commission of a felony. So the allegation is that my client, Ms. Hancock, was, oops, I better tag her on here too because she will want to be tagged. Hang on one second. Oops. Well, I'll have to, somebody can tag Wendy if you would, please. But, so she was charged with custodial interference on an ex parte order, which I've talked about it in many forums, but it's an order in which she resides in DeKalb County, Tennessee, and the Department of Children's Services social worker went to the next county, to Smith County, and had Judge Michael Collins, I have to get all my names right, and my brain is moving really fast right now, so sometimes I get messed up on people, and then I say the wrong name, and then the persons whose name I mentioned get all upset with me. So I apologize if I do that, and you may have to just give me the opportunity to correct it. But yeah, it's pretty much a fabrication. So they went to the next county and got a judge to sign an ex parte order. And this is a critical point here. Not only did they go to the next county, but they got the judge to sign an ex parte order before they even filed the petition with the court. And then they snuck in 15 minutes before the clerk closed, filed the petition, and set a hearing for 9 o'clock the next morning. 9 o'clock the next morning. They all had my phone number. Not a single person bothered to give me a phone call and say, we've got a petition or we've got a hearing. And even the judge, and this is very upsetting to me, this judge let them have a hearing, and he didn't even bother to ask, does mom have an attorney? Does mom know about this hearing? Is there anybody we need to call? You know, I have been practicing for 25 years. I've done all kinds of litigation all over the state. And if for any reason there was a court hearing set, and let's just say it didn't get on my calendar or something, I mean, you know, it doesn't happen very often, but it's probably happened 3 or 4 times in 25 years, and I'm not in court, the judge will call, or the judge will have the clerk call, or the judge will tell the attorney, why don't you go call the other attorney? I've had to do it for other attorneys who've not shown up for court, where you go and you call them and you say, you know, I'm not sure if you remember about the court date, but you give them the common courtesy of making sure that they know about the court date. Okay, no, not here, not juvenile court, not in Judge Michael Collins' courtroom. Nope, they just have a hearing and take testimony without any knowledge at all. This practice has to stop. It is ridiculous. It is a due process violation. It has to stop. And I'm going to tell you, the challenge of that order is going to go to federal court. There is already case law that says that unless it is an emergency situation, people are entitled to notice and the opportunity to be heard. Okay? And the Seventh Circuit just recently came out with an opinion on that. The other thing is that social workers cannot lie. They cannot just put false allegations in a petition and then go to a judge and get an ex parte order and stand by that just because the judge signed it. The Court of Appeals the federal courts have already ruled on that, and have ruled on that specifically for the Sixth Circuit, which is our circuit, that you cannot just lie and then go get an ex parte order. You cannot rely on that. You know, and for years and years and years, this kind of law has been in place for police officers, that police officers cannot lie to get a warrant. You can sue them in federal court. You can sue them in federal court for malicious prosecution, negligent investigation. It is a due process violation. So this is what we are fighting all over this country, and it is so real. It is, I don't know how to shake it down. I don't know how to shake people any harder than to show this is what's happening. Our families and our children are being raped by the system. Yep. Now, I'm going to tell you also the reason for taking this warrant out on me. Now, they're going to say, oh, yeah, but, you know, we want to protect families and children. We want to act in the best interest of the children. Well, screw the Constitution, I guess. Now, they're going to try to impugn me because I am, like, talking bad about the system. This cannot continue. This cannot continue. We need to start taking this serious, okay? Now, let me see. So they had my phone numbers. They refused to have a meeting with me to get involved in the investigation. And I talked to the detective on the telephone, Detective James Cornelius in DeKalb County. I'm talking about you. And I called you on the telephone and I said, don't talk to my client again alone, right? And you know what he did? Less than a week later, he talked to my client without me present. Okay, do you know Detective James Cornelius in DeKalb County? That's a Fifth Amendment violation, okay? All right, do you hear me? Do you guys understand what you're doing? Also, Detective James Cornelius, you pinged a phone. You know that that's also a Fourth Amendment violation. Y'all need to start getting training on federal law. It is a Fourth Amendment violation to ping somebody's phone and get a location off their phone and then go hunt them down like wild beast, okay? So let's see, how many constitutional violations are there, right? Seizing the child. So when a child is unlawfully seized, a child has a Fourth Amendment right to be protected against unreasonable search and seizure. That includes seizing a child and forcing them into the home of a stranger. That's a seizure. Okay? The courts are clear about that. The federal courts are clear. The state courts, the juvenile courts, are just basically ignoring those rights. They're ignoring them. and they need to be brought to justice. They need to be trained on this. They need to stop acting like the horrid Nazi people they are. Now, another reason they took this out, I'm going to cover it's getting a little windy out here. Another reason they did it is because they want to silence me. So during the juvenile court proceedings, Ms. Hancock and I had made several, all right, I'm going to try to tag her one more time. So hold on here 1 second, see if I can locate her, because she'll be upset if she's not tagged in here. Oh, and of course Facebook will not find her for me. Okay, that's life. Okay, sorry about that. No results. Okay, sorry for the little hiccup there. So we had done about 4 Facebook Lives where we had talked about the case, and then they convinced the judge to put a gag order on us in November. So, of course, I had to shut up for 3 or 4 months. And then there was a final order in February, and in the final order, there was no gag order included in it, and it would have been unconstitutional to do it anyway. Parents have an absolute First Amendment right to talk about their own lives and the involvement of the government in their life. They have an absolute First Amendment right to complain about government activities. First Amendment right. So let's talk about First Amendment violations, Fourth Amendment violations, 14th Amendment violations. Okay? We have a Constitution, folks. We have a Constitution that protects our rights. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then they took her children and they gave them the very controversial HPV vaccine. Another 14th Amendment violation, and in violation of invasion of privacy into the lives of those children. And I would say probably an assault. An assault. Yes, they should be criminally prosecuted for assaulting the children with an HPV vaccine without the consent of the parent. They didn't even know. She did not even know. This is what we're dealing with. So, yeah, hey, Deanna, and I know you know all about the corruption of CPS, and I know all about your case in California. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so they gagged us. So then after the final order came down, there was no gag order in the final order, and I would have appealed that anyway, but we went back on live, and we talked again what had happened, how the state was holding the children, even though all their criteria had been met, even though the children wanted to come home, even though there was never any showing. They didn't prove the allegations in the petition that mom was selling drugs. They had no proof on that, no evidence whatsoever. And she passed drug screens. She did their psych eval. I mean, everything. And they refused to bring the children home. They refused to give me copies of the children's and the mother's psych evaluation. They refused to give me foster care review board notes, hearing notes. They refused to give me the updated DCS records, right? And in a foster care review board meeting, they kicked us out of the meeting because I put on a recorder and I recorded what was being said in there because they lie. I found out on one of the notes, finally, when I got my hands on some of them, that the topic of conversation was our social media, not the welfare of the children, but social media. They don't want to be exposed. They don't want to be talked about. We should be excited that we have a platform. So now this criminal case is to shut me up. They're like thinking, well, if we have a criminal case on her, then she won't talk about it anymore. Well, you know what? Nope. I'm going to take my chances. I've already looked up the statutes that they're trying to proceed on. I've already got an attorney. We'll just use it to put on a show and show what they're doing to families and children. Yeah, it will be a complete show. Yeah, okay. All right, so a couple other things I want to mention, and then I'm going to bring, I got a surprise. This is going to drive all the haters crazy, but anyway, we got a little surprise. And so, a couple things I want to point out. Number one, that in the Channel 5 news article, you probably saw a sentence in there that said something of the nature that a judge was concerned about how I was representing the client and therefore wanted the investigation, or the investigation occurred because a judge was concerned. Okay, it was not written very clearly, but they got a copy of part of a transcript. Now, remind you that they they mess with me when I disclose the proceedings, right? They tell me I cannot violate confidentiality. I cannot talk about the case, but they can pass out parts of the transcript that fits them the best, right? Okay, everybody can hear me okay, I guess. Hi, hey, Melissa. All right, so they passed out this transcript. Now, this judge, this is Judge Amy Hollers. She is a state circuit court judge. She covers DeKalb County, I think Smith County and Putnam County, and maybe another county. I don't know. I think she's from Livingston. Her father was a judge. We were in front of her because I raised the issues of the illegality of the Judge Collins signing the order without jurisdiction. I'm not going to get into all the legal aspects of that at this time. It has to do with the fact that it's a county judge, it's a county court, it's not a state court. The courts are created by the General Assembly. They're not created by the Supreme Court. Only the General Assembly can give them jurisdiction, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so anyway, she denied it, right? And then I found out several months later when we got ready to take another case in front of her, that it's raining so hard here. I don't know if you can hear me. There's so much rain in the background. But that she was out politicking for the Democrat Party, which is absolutely prohibited under the rules of judicial conduct. She went to the DeKalb County Democrat Party reorganization meeting. It was published freely all over the local radio station's website. We didn't go snooping on her. We didn't spy on her. We didn't send out any secret surveillance. It was publicly posted. The DeKalb County Democrat Party is publicly posted on Facebook. It is a public page. You can go, you can look at it, you can read it, you can download the pictures on it, okay? So, okay, look, I gotta show you something here. I don't know if you can see this. It is pouring down rain. Pouring rain. The reason I'm outside is because there's a whole gaggle of children inside, and I just don't think, I think they would be more thunder than the rain. So work with me here, and I'm sorry if you can't hear it. It's just a little background noise, rain. All right, so anyway, I found out that, hold on here, I'm losing my train of thought, that the judge was going to speak in behalf of the Democrat Party at the reorganization meeting, and she was being introduced by Sarah Cripps, who was the guardian ad litem on our case. Isn't that convenient? Yeah. So I was not happy about this because of some conflict that I had between myself and Ms. Cripps during the proceeding, including the order that was presented that the judge elected to sign, in which Ms. Cripps had added language that was not in the ruling of the court. And even though I wrote a legal memorandum saying that that was inappropriate, they granted her order. So I found out about the meeting. I downloaded the pictures. I filed a motion for her to recuse herself. So we had a hearing in circuit court on that motion, and she was very, very, very upset. And from the bench, she started making some pretty derogatory remarks, basically claiming that what I had done. Now, I want to tell you, I am not from DeKalb County. Oh my gosh, it's raining so hard. Can y'all hear me? Somebody say you can hear me. So, I am not from DeKalb County. No, it's really raining. Look at this. It is like a storm out here. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Tara. Okay, so my client is the one who found this post on the local radio station, and she's the one that said that she was bothered by this, and she wanted the motion filed. And so in her behalf, I filed the motion for recusal. And the judge is criticizing me from the bench for filing the motion for recusal and basically telling my client that she should not have me representing her. And then she took off her robe, she walked off the bench, she walked behind me and made some very snide remarks, all of which is recorded, of course. So I have presented all of that information to the Board of Judicial Conduct of how she appeared, which is an absolute violation of Tennessee Supreme Court Rule 10, Section 4.1, I think, or 4.4. Judges are not allowed to go out and politic for a political party while they're sitting on the bench. It is prohibited. This is not even an election year. The election year is like in, I don't know, 2 or 3 more, 4 more years, whatever, okay? So that is under investigation as well. All right, a couple other thoughts here. I do want to mention several things we've had a ton of new members join our group because of all the press it got. And someone started posting, I'm not even going to verbalize her name. She's unimportant. She's been taken out of the group. But someone started posting some really stupid remarks about somehow I was a double agent because I had co-authored the ASFA bill from 1997. All right, first of all, in 1994 is when I finished law school. I worked for the district attorney's office for about 2.5 years and went into private practice. I was barely a private practicing attorney in 1996 and 97 when this bill was passed, and I'd come from the restaurant business. So trust me, I don't think anybody in Congress would reach out to me to help draft legislation. So I made a comment that this was just stupid, and you know, it's just stupid, and I'm just not going to tolerate stupidness because we have to keep moving. All right, now here's the point. If you have a question about me and you want to ask me a question about something you've heard, something you've seen, something about where I've spoken, just send me a message and say, you know what, tell me about this. I have no secrets, okay? I have no secrets. My life is not crystal clean, you know, but I can tell you everything, and I'm not ashamed of it. When I decided to take a public forum, I was well aware of that, okay? So now they want to make me a criminal. Now somebody who has no information on something wants to try to impugn me and make me a liar. It's not going to happen. Second, I want to make a comment about this because I've seen this come up several times in people's requests on how to do something. I need to do a little short video just on this one thing, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. There is something in law called an offer of proof, okay? An offer of proof. All the states have rules of evidence. Almost every state follows pretty much the same rules as the federal rules of evidence. So you can look up your own state's rule of evidence, but you can also look up federal rules of evidence to get some information and then try to parallel it with your state. Because you're going to find maybe a few little tweaks or changes. Okay, Shelly, I would love to do that. Just send me a message, okay? So it's called an offer of proof, and I have done this several times. And let's give you an example. Let's say, and this is a big one in juvenile court, let's say you want to call a child to testify, and the judge says, no, we're not going to let the child testify. You can put in what's called an offer of proof. It's raining really hard now. I mean, it's like, what do you call it? Palatial storms bouncing off the roof. Hang in there. So you can do an offer of proof, which basically you can put into the record what you believe that proof would have been. Okay, so what that means is, like, for instance, you want to call your child to testify and the judge says no. You can put in the record an offer of proof, and it's in the record. And then that goes to the reviewing court or the court of appeals. And how do you do an offer of proof? This is critical. Every state is a little bit, tiny bit different. But and in Tennessee, you can do it multiple ways. So I have a case that's out there when I first tried to deal with an offer of proof and a judge wouldn't let me testify, and I was stumbling around on how to get it done. And the Tennessee Court of Appeals said, you can do an offer of proof with a written statement. You don't have to get the proposed testimony under oath that you would offer to the court. So, if you have, if you want to write up, if this child testified, he would have said this, or we would proffer that he would say this, then that is the way you can do it. It's called an offer of proof. Very, very, very important. I have people post all the time, I can't get my proof in the record. I never get to testify. My attorney won't let me testify. You need to sit down and talk to your attorney about getting your evidence in, getting your witnesses called, and doing an offer proof. Okay. All right. So one of the things that you know that my prayer in our advocacy is prepare me, join me, defend me. All right. I've worked really hard to be mentally prepared, to be spiritually prepared, to fight this spiritual battle. And I'm always seeking people who can add to our voice. Okay, I'm going to add to our voice. I know we have love-hate relationships with a lot of people in the groups, but as long as somebody is trying to legitimately learn and legitimately reach out and has a passion for advocacy, I want to try to develop a working relationship with them. I have outlined an advocacy program. It's got 16 modules, kind of an overview of what the law is, the overview of how to listen and work with clients, what are the priority of things that you need to address, etc., how we will record and document, etc. Okay, so as we create a core group of advocates, we'll be talking more about and setting up the training on the advocacy program. Okay, so now, yoo-hoo! You're watching?
I'm watch party.
Oh, watch party. We've got a watch party. Okay, so I have with me today, as I said, haters are going to hate. Okay, so here we go. Woo-hoo! You all know this girl, right? If you don't, it's Jamie Johnson from Indiana. And she has joined me this weekend. She is... we're chatting, we're putting our heads together, brainstorming, what are some next things. She is always wanting to learn. I've just tried to stay close to what's going on in her part of the world. As a matter of fact, I am from Indiana, so I have a special, not that far from where she actually lives. So I have a special interest in and Indiana is one of the top worst states. Right?
Number two.
Yeah, so we have Florida, and you have Florida, Arizona, New York, and then there's like freaking Indiana, and Indiana is like 17,000.
Right.
So,
that's why I feel like it was a blessing to be there.
Yeah.
For us to be there, from there.
A blessing, yeah.
Not that was so wrong, but I'm saying, like, have this such a wonderful, amazing person that was able to mentor me that has an interest in that state. I apologize. That probably did come off really wrong. But isn't that what I'm good for?
Yeah. Foot in mouth. Insert foot in mouth. Yeah, Jamie does that once in a while.
I do, but see, she's stuck by me, and I love that, so I appreciate that.
So, Jamie just has a real heart for it, and, and also, like, when she's had some questions, she's reached out to me, she's called me. I mean, of course, I don't have time to talk to everybody all the time, but... if she has a real question that I might be able to offer some legal information, I'm like, okay.
And here's the thing, it's not, I feel blessed that you've always given me that time. And, like, honestly, I feel honored because not too many people would give the time, and I've seen that. So that's one of the things I know, that she's also genuine, and why I listen to her. And I don't always listen right away. You can ask some of my other mentors, but I do listen. Yeah. And I'm honored. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
To have that expertise, because I am not an attorney. I'm not, and I don't know. And I learned that really, really hard last week.
Yeah.
Trying to do that, asking for an attorney and being denied that.
Right.
And then having to step up. And if I know as much as I do, having this
wonderful
example next to me and my resource, what does the families have?
Right.
They don't. I mean, I was shocked at what happened over a holiday weekend. So
yeah, exactly. And that's an issue. When an investigation commences, families don't know to go get attorneys, and this is so critical, and this is why we need a growing advocacy. Yep, Missy, I get it. So this is why we need growing advocacy, because parents need to know that there's a resource. They actually trust the government. A lot of them are like, they think, well, I didn't do anything wrong, so this will be dismissed right away.
Yes.
Or if they do need help, some people are like, well, maybe I have a child that needs some therapy or something, and they think the government's going to help them. They do not realize that what's going to happen is the government is going to take your child and they're going to decide how to treat your child. They're going to deny you access to your child. They're going to brainwash your child.
Yes.
Social engineer your whole child's life.
And here's the thing, I can speak for that. I mean, I did that 20 years ago as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old. I lost everything and had nowhere to go. The one person I did trust still wasn't enough. And it was just crooked then as it is now. So absolutely, I had nowhere to go. I felt so alone back then. So I guess that's probably why my drive too is so hard, is nobody should feel alone. People are like, well, you shouldn't help this person or help that person. But if you have the experience and the education, why shouldn't you pass it on?
Exactly. It's like, and here's the thing, if we don't do it, our kids are going to be facing, and especially if the system has ever touched your life, it's worse than a criminal history, because you know what, and I'm just going to say, if you get arrested for shoplifting or assault or whatever, and you get a little record for a misdemeanor, when your kids grow up, it's not going to affect their life. It's not going to affect them. But you know what? If you've ever been investigated by CPS, they plug in every name of everyone of your family, your children, your freaking neighbors and grandparents and whatever, because sure enough, they'll deny grandparent visitation if there's any history at all, ever with the whole family with CPS. Are you guys watching us down there?
And I've had that happen many times.
No, can you turn that down just a little bit? Thank you. Sorry, we got some.
You could turn mine down probably if it's watching and having them.
No, they're good. Okay, so we got some other people here too. So be patient with us. All right. So so having knowledge from the very beginning that the agency's not there to protect you or help you. They're there to take your children. They're there to impugn you. They're there to get ex parte orders. And this ex parte thing, has got to stop.
Yes, I had a right to prepare. I had a right to, these are false allegations. Obviously, they go into court and they say stuff like, well, we plan on dropping it, but we still need you to do this for us. You need us to do that.
Which includes going in your home.
Yes.
Going in your home. Isolating your children from you. Interrogating your children. So, yeah, that's investigation.
And here's the thing, I did put some stipulations in it. Once I realized, look, there's nothing I can do once in that court. I did what I could. I entered the stuff that I needed to enter to do the limited appearance, to say, hey, there's a problem here. Can you give us a minute and give me some legal counsel? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And literally from July 3rd, then you have the holiday weekend, July 8th, I was to be in court and answer to them allowing themselves into my home, an interview with my children by themselves, which they had already interviewed them, safety questions. They'd already physically seen them. I had already cooperated quite a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, we have a commercial interruption here.
Yes.
We have a national alert emergency
It's balloon
interruption
time.
here. Can you go get balloons? Yes, you guys can go get balloons.
Yay!
Take care of her.
How are you getting there? You walking?
No, we're going in a minute.
Oh, they're going to talk somebody into it.
Yeah. So, yes. So,
And then they, not only that, but here's the whole thing is, it was a Second Amendment violation as well.
Yes.
The 2nd, the 4th,
Yes.
the 9th, the 13th.
Yes.
14th, I'm sorry, the 14th.
Yes.
Because what it is I'm allowed to, no matter what it is, I'm allowed to bear arms. And especially in Indiana, there's no safe laws.
Yes.
There's no lockup laws. There's nothing that says I have to have a permit or registered within my home. But because somebody wanted to say something, and look, I've reviewed it, I've offered it, the CPS didn't even view the video in question. It is
Right.
still up to this day. It has not been taken down.
Second
because of
Amendment. And this is a new one. I've got to tell you. So I'm the first attorney being arrested for helping a client on trying to get information on ex parte order. And you're the first I know that the Second Amendment was violated by the state agency.
They took pictures. They had to show them the safe. Now look, I did, because it was there, I could not stop it. I did ask for provisions. So that's kind of where I felt
Right.
myself at least if I can't stop them, let me put up some safety guards.
Exactly.
That's what I did. I ensured that it would be recorded,
Yep.
which is not common.
Right.
But we did have some arguments because then they didn't want to give me a copy.
Exactly.
I'm also, you just made me do this limited thing. I did enter to do this, but I'm asking for an attorney. You're not giving me one. They literally said, we don't think it's going to go there.
Oh my gosh.
And then they said
let
they were
me
gonna
give
put-
you in a comparison to criminal law, because not only did I act as a prosecutor, I've done some criminal law myself. I really don't do that much anymore, but I read lots of constitutional criminal cases because there's just a whole lot better standards on that than there is for parents. Unfortunately, criminals have more rights than parents. I've said that many, many, many times.
They do.
So, but let me tell you something. If you are accused of a crime and the officer takes you into an interrogation room and interrogates you and videotapes it and records it, and you're charged criminally, that's the first thing you get.
Yes, yes.
That is the first thing you get, is a copy of your interview and a copy of the police reports. There's no, you have to go request them, you have to get an attorney. Oh, here's the one I like. No, we can't give you a copy, but you can come and watch it.
Yes, yeah. Oh my gosh, they have said that to me about a grandpa that they kicked off the case, so he wasn't a party anymore, but he was a party during his own,
Okay, quit shaking so much. We're on a swing,
We are.
and it's got springs on it, and so I'm trying not to jiggle the camera.
I talk with my hands.
Thank you, Shara.
Thank you. Did you see what she said about that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So,
interesting.
yeah. So so the Second Amendment. Now, the Ninth Amendment. I want to talk about that because a lot of people don't think about the Ninth Amendment, and the Ninth Amendment is basically, in so many words, says that just because we haven't named it here as an individual right doesn't mean that is not included. I know it's kind of a vague thing, but the people that it's an amendment. It's not even a drafter to it's the first 10 amendments. So yeah, it's in the Bill of Rights. So the people who drafted our Constitution, they knew that our government was likely to become too strong and too powerful.
Yes, yes.
And so they threw in the Ninth Amendment, which says, just because I didn't say it doesn't mean it's not an individual liberty. And so I've read several cases that says that the Ninth Amendment also protects the constitutional right to parent.
That's
and
right.
then the 14th Amendment protects our rights of privacy, and that's where most of the courts have found the family rights is under the 14th Amendment.
And they invited all that. I mean, they took pictures in my home. They didn't even ask for any other way to do that. That's, to me, is I had proof of the videos. I've had proof of who was doing the false calling or attempting to, or blowing it up, or anything. I had it. They didn't want to do anything. They saw my children but were not happy enough just asking them basic safety questions. Not at all. I would have even taken her phone in and taken a picture or video of my running water.
Exactly.
There's other ways, but they didn't want
Exactly.
to see that without. And this is what happened 20 years ago. The only thing they will accept is an interview with a child.
Yes.
And then talk about drugs and
Yes.
guns and
Yes.
abuse
Yes.
and I had something interesting yesterday, and I told Connie that, I ran into a gentleman who was unfortunately homeless, was in the system his whole life, had been beat by his family member, and I just downright got to it. Let me get some questions here. What do you think, why it was a failure? Why did you not? He said he was so scared to say anything. Now, I was telling her what my experience has been, that the ones that are, all these cases, these kids are just blah, 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 blah. All these facts and details like it's nothing about this abuse, but yet every single really abused child that I spoke to does not. They are so scared. And then they interviewed them in front of the abuser. And I've had that with even domestic violence.
Right.
Where, how are you supposed to feel safe if you're in front of them? So they put that pressure on that child to get them to say what they want.
Well, and they'll talk to a child, who's 6, 7, 8 years old, and these people are, first of all, they're a stranger to the child. The child doesn't know, they don't develop a therapeutic relationship. They're strangers, and they get millions of dollars for this whole gig that they've got
They're
going.
not trained. They're
They
12.
are not trained.
This CPS worker on the stand, which I tried to hold my own, trying to make
did
sure I
good.
put stuff on record.
Right.
And that's it. I asked, I started asking her about her previous training because she stated she was a police officer. So I do understand that she's supposed to have a little bit more, but out of the CPS training, it was 12 weeks to
12
come
weeks.
in and get my child, and 12 intense weeks.
Yeah, 12 intense
Honey,
weeks.
I told them I don't even feel that I should interview a child, and I've been doing this a year and a half now, and have some of the best mentors ever. So you know what I'm saying? Her mentors are CPS. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
And here's the thing: she lied and lied and lied and misrepresented herself over and over. And I literally asked her on the stand. I was like, "Are you gonna keep on that?"
You gonna
You
stick
gonna
with that story?
stick with that story?
Because I have an audio. That's
And
what
I have an
like.
audio, and I tried to end.
As a matter of fact, I will tell you.
I do
that,
have an audio.
Yeah. So
I have video of her at my door.
yeah. So on Wendy's case, they knew I had audios, or
Yeah.
they would have lied. Because when the detective was on the stand, and I said to him, "So isn't it true that you had a conversation with me?" Yes. And I'm like, "So isn't it true that I told you not to talk to my client without me present?" And he goes, I think maybe you might have said that, right?"
Right. Might have. I don't recall.
Yeah.
I don't
I don't
recall.
know. Maybe you said that.
You think
Yeah.
you did it?
Yeah. Well, it's on audio, dude.
And that's one thing I can't stress enough. Being that I've been in with a lot of mentors and stuff, that's the one thing that has been just instilled in me. Record, record, record. Y'all know when they came in, they handcuffed me for 45 minutes, so I couldn't record on that one. But any other time...
Oh, I was chained to a wall this
Yeah.
week. Were you handcuffed this week?
I've been a
Was
bad...
that this week?
No, not this week. No,
last
I haven't been in... No.
No
I've not been-
handcuffs this week?
No, and here's the thing. I've changed. I did come into this a little bit more...
Fiery.
fiery because
aggressive.
I lived it, and here they
Yeah.
were coming after my kids for no silly reason but a new
Right.
law. So it was like I didn't even know anything back then, and the things that I saw.
You're right, Amanda. I will tell you, they freak when I file a constitutional challenge. As a matter of fact, I've got a constitutional challenge pending right now on this crazy ICPC law, because they get an ICPC report and then they file it with the clerk, and it's all hearsay, and they use it to deny relative placement on hearsay. And I have a case out of the families. The grandparents are in Florida. And first of all, the ICPC was not done by an agency. It was done by a private contractor. And obviously, they didn't even know the law in Florida, because somebody had been arrested and it got dismissed. So it totally does not count. And they put in the ICPC report that it was denied for criminal history. Denied for criminal history. So
Yeah.
not only did I file a memorandum that pointed out to the court that whoever did this in Florida, and I had to go research Florida law, pull up the Florida law, and pull up the ICPC law, and I'm like, not only did they just screw up, just totally screw up, it shouldn't apply anyway, because it's hearsay.
Yeah.
It's hearsay. And I've seen other cases. I know another case in Tennessee where a judge denied placement with relatives based on an ICPC denial, and it's baloney.
I hear it all the time, and I have a case that it's been right at the beginning when we had all those deaths, CPS failures, DCS failures in Indiana, in Madison County, Anderson, Indiana, Elwood. One of them was a mom who'd been involved many times, was pregnant. When she had the baby, it died during the process. So she was charged with the killing the fetus
Wow.
through drugs.
Wow.
Well, look, I spoke to, she had another child. The aunt had something but was cleared of it and all this, something way long ago. But the aunt was actually the one taking care of the sibling. But they would only give it to the 80-some-year-old grandma that was struggling. Now, here's the kicker, though. Now, this aunt could not have that child stay the night. Could not.
Can we bring some toys outside?
Yeah, can you kind of stay on the other end?
But can we get wet?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yes.
Of course, it's
I'm not
raining.
bringing-
Okay, here we go.
But
Kiss
this
in
other
the rain.
child was living with, she was struggling. Now, this aunt could do everything with her, even stay up until they went to bed,
Yeah.
and maybe a few hours leave and come back. Every bit of it was by her. But they would not transfer the custody
Because
over.
they want failure.
Yes.
They want,
Why else?
Yeah, they
Why
want the
else?
grandmother to fail, so they can say, "Oh, sorry, there's no other placements.
Because
there's
you're
no
not
other
a fit
relative
parent, even though
placements."
we're in your house. Now, here's another thing. She had went through all of the stuff to become one, the drug test, the psychs, the counseling, the everything. And then they tried to come back like all these times on her after having a drug test on a false call. and then ask her to pee again. And it's like, what is all that money?
Yeah.
Just wasted. This case.
Yeah, I've actually seen CPS set up fake calls on family members and relatives just so they can go into court and say, oh, but they have a CPS history.
My sister and her daughter is in a car.
Okay.
It's okay. It's not going anywhere.
Sorry.
He's the cutest thing ever.
Distractions, but, got to do it, so.
And that's, and one thing I just hate is that this system is being used for vengeance and these false calls. And there's so many little things that could be like in these cases where, like I just said, they didn't even look and see that she had just taken a drug test with another caseworker. But because they get a call, they're going to go out and do it all over again. That's just a waste. Where is when calls come into that same thing, well, this is what happened on mine right now. As many know, they called falsely a few months ago. That was completely closed without them entering my home, without them interviewing, not even talking to my children like I let them this time. And that's part of the case, is that they have to have that, right? Well, that caseworker, I'm going to say that caseworker did everything appropriately. Everything.
Right.
But
they didn't like that, though.
No, but this thing is he put in his records what went down, the report that I was saying who it was falsely, to keep an eye out for these false reports. He would be available when any calls came in. And then she didn't even know anything. On the stand, I asked her about it. She didn't know anything about it. She didn't look up the case. She didn't see that it had been, and they went to the wrong address.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even look 2 months ago. They were at my house.
Which may or may not have been intentional.
Right. And
Like we said, they bring other family members into a CPS investigation so they can rule out those people as potential placements if they need to. And also just remember, all these calls, all these investigations, it's all numbers, okay? They need their numbers up all the time. They need 35,000 investigations a year. They need, 12,000 petitions filed, okay? It's all numbers to them. I was a DA, and I said I was too human to be a DA because all of our annual reports and all of our meetings were about our freaking numbers. It wasn't about, are we helping keep this community safe? We were looking at jail days. How many jail days did we secure?
Indiana's new lawsuit, that's exact wording from those attorneys that are suing, is exactly what you're saying. It is not, they're all like, it's changing since we did that review. You guys, it's smoke and mirrors. I told you that in the beginning. It's smoke and mirrors to make it look like they're doing something, because in all reality, nothing has changed for the families. All they did was get more money, more money. And it's the same thing in Indiana with this. They're saying they're being abused, they're not being listened to, and all they're doing is saying they're fixing things, but nothing is changing in reality.
Absolutely. And I know it. I've heard it. I've been on the inside. I've heard that. And the other thing is these agencies are huge bureaucratic machines that are operated, and the moving force, the locomotion behind it is the private contractors and private agencies. And I'm going to tell you, I think an audit is called for, because I really think there's bonuses, kickbacks.
Yes. And being in the
special
politics.
privileges. Yeah,
Yes,
so
that's where it wrapped in.
Well, in my case, the DCS attorney, during the middle of our case, she couldn't make a particular court date because they were going on a retreat. And I'm like, you're going on a freaking retreat? What? You're on my freaking tax dollar. What do you mean a retreat? Right? I mean, they are our employees. Do not forget that. They work on our tax dollars. They are our employees. Our employees.
Yes. Yeah, and I tell you, a lot of people might think, well, I just listen to you on everything, and that's not the case.
You're right, Amanda, we should.
I've done so much. I've talked to many other people. Look, it isn't just one person. It's all of us saying this because it's reality. It's not just some conspiracy. It is reality. And I was not where would I come from? A modeling group. I mean, okay, I didn't know anything about politics or nothing. Or even back 21 years ago, if you had told me this, I literally felt like my case was a lot of political between two departments, two sheriff's or police departments. But now looking back, I see what they did, how they utilized CPS and the tools to do that. And I would have never even believed it then. And even when I started this, I didn't relate it. But the more I go, even as a civilian, as somebody just a mom, I'm a mom. Like, that's it. I am telling you, it is so intertwined and so deep. If there's not somebody that speaks up, united together, if we don't stop that division, I told her they're well organized and they're well oiled.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Michaela, in Texas, they just keep coming in and coming and closing and coming over and over. Same false allegations. They are not, I got to read this, they are not getting in here. You are so right.
And I
Thank
tell you that right there is one of my grandmas. And she's darn right. And we're still fighting constantly.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a grandma. That's
So
like
the other
me taking
thing
over.
now, you know, those of us who are in the know have to start training our kids.
Exactly.
Training our kids. Now, you know what? I'm going to tell you, me saying that, oh my gosh.
We're in trouble. We are.
Are
in
you
trouble.
kidding? They're going to go, Miss Reguli's out there telling parents to tell their kids not to talk to CPS. Yeah, she is like, I mean, they've already came after me. I've posted so many times, fake Amber Alert, fake Amber Alert, fake Amber Alert,
Done to
because
the
the children are missing with their parents. And then they dismiss the Amber Alert saying, they've been recovered by the Department of Children's Services or CPS, right? I'm like, probably a fake alert, probably an ex parte order. Parents didn't get
Yes.
due process. They never, and really, honestly, you know what's interesting about that? In all of those Amber Alerts, what you never see is a follow-up report that those parents got arrested for child abuse. Oh, isn't that funny?
Okay.
Isn't
yeah.
that funny?
None of them do.
Yeah,
None
so
of them do.
you got an Amber Alert, a child's endangered, they go snatch the child back, put him in foster care, but you never hear anything about any criminal arrest.
Do you know there was a case that they put them on like this watch thing because they didn't open their door, or they had already like shut them down and they kept demanding certain things and it had been past the time and all this. Well, they literally put them on like this watch, so if they got stopped, they would detain them. Now,
Exactly.
how are you going to detain somebody without a
Yep.
number one, the warrant, the probable cause, I mean, I even know that now. I mean, that's one of the things about mine. All I did in my case was just ask them
Yep.
to do what was right. If you have it, bring it back a warrant.
Yep. And
They
they
said-
could do that. They could do that with your kids. They could put your kids on a missing persons
Yes.
report and you never even know it.
Yeah.
You never know it. And then if you get stopped for a traffic ticket and your kid's in the car and he's old enough to speak and they ask your kid what his name is or something, and your kid's on a missing persons report because let's just say there was an investigation, no finding of abuse, but there's some investigation and you move or you go stay with relatives or you go out of town for a few days, you know, they could put your kids on a missing person report and then
Yes.
you would be stopped and detained again. Again, no arrest warrant, no capias, no nothing, right? Yep. That's the way they operate. It's just, it's total.
It's sick. I mean, and the damage that it does.
You're right,
It
Wendy.
just shocks
Just
me.
us. Yep, donkey justice. And you know, they
Yes.
got, so they also got mad at me because I used the term donkey justice. Well, let me tell you this. The United States Supreme Court is the first resource that used the term kangaroo court. So kangaroo court, donkey justice, same thing. I mean, if the United States Supreme Court justice can say, can impugn the juvenile system for the way they treat people, I'm sorry. I think you really can't say anything about the way we talk about it generally when they deny due process all the time.
And that's it. I mean, it was just, that's all I asked for was due process in a court, even just to be able to get an attorney, just to be able, because look, again, if I was able to present the facts, and that's what I told him, I was like, I have evidence, can I, bring it? No, that's not this kind of hearing. This is just a hearing for you to comply. But what about my rights? This isn't about your constitutional rights.
You're
How
right,
is it
Amanda.
not?
Ex parte orders, that's their game. Okay, well, I think we've
Yep.
probably been on here about an hour, and I know an hour is like stretching for
Yes,
your
it
time
is.
of the day. Please please share, and just, we got to get people educated. I know there's all kinds of tiny groups out there related to this. I always try to share everything to many of those small groups to get them collected. Family Forward Project is what we're pushing through. I've got a little over 12,000 members. We had this huge drive of new members after I got arrested. There's probably some funky trolls in there, but we'll get it worked out. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. We share news stories, we share legislative events, we show actions that we're doing, and sharing your stories is such good information. I cannot respond. I know a lot of people share their story and ask a question hoping I'll give them some legal advice. I'm very cautious about what I call legal advice particular to your case, but often I can comment on general aspects of the law, just like the offer of proof that we talked about today. So thank you so much for being brave enough and bold enough to do that. And please, in your community, talk to your state reps, talk to your spiritual leaders, talk to your church members. If you can get a group together of 5, 10, 12 people, I'd be happy to come and talk to them about what's going on. All right. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. We're going to log out here and
enjoy this wonderful property.
And I'm sure I'll probably be on live again tomorrow. Wendy's coming to talk to me, so her and I need to do a little update, co-defendants.
I'm excited to actually see her again.
Yeah.
Again, I think she's a wonderful, wonderful person. When you meet somebody or know somebody, then you can speak for them. Otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. All right, y'all. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.